Got it.
Is it too loud on my end?
No, it sounds good.
All right.
All right, and then we're that, and that, and that. All right, I gotta. All right, mute that. First pod is. All right, and 1, 2, 3, go. And just like that, we're on the Rapid Reaction podcast here on hawkfanatic.com. We have a game in the books. Iowa 24, Utah State 14. I am joined by former Hawkeyes Jovan Johnson and Jordan Canzeri, and I am Rob Howe. Jordan's coming back in here. We had him and lost him. You're on mute again.
All right.
There we go.
Round two.
Hey.
Round two.
It's it's our first podcast of the season, man. And we're good. All right. As I did last year, first of all, I know Jovan was telling me he put his team opened up with a win last night. I know he's in year 2 of building his program. You are in year 1, Jordan Canzeri, of building your program. Have you guys played yet?
We just had a scrimmage today, 4-way scrimmage, but our first game is this coming Friday. And
how's the squad look, man?
You know, for me personally, not the numbers that I've grown up seeing at Troy, but you know, I'm the 4th head coach in 4 years program. So, you know, I'm definitely trying to change that. So far, I've been getting a lot of good positive feedback in the direction that I've been taking these guys, just the things that I've been saying to parents and in the community. So we'll see. But the first game, it's going to be a historic one. So I'm already excited. First game to be with that type of hype.
We wish you the best of luck on that in this season, as well as Jovan, who told me his team won, was it 43-2 or something like that?
42-2.
42-2, and you said the defense didn't play so well. That sounds like
the defense played well. Yeah, the offense gave up more points than the defense. That's a good problem.
Oh, okay. So defensive guy. I knew that you had to have had your defenses back. I know.
Yeah, I'm a defensive guy. I call the offense though, but I'm a defensive guy.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'd like to give you guys the floor to open up here and just give me kind of your overall thoughts on what we saw today. Before we go into specifics, and we'll start with seniority here and go with Jovan, the old guy.
I mean, for me, you know, just I'm excited to be back. Right, the Hawks are back playing football again, being able to tune in and see what they have going on and always following. But hearing all these new names is different for me, you know. But they started out the game hot. I thought they played well at the beginning, and it's not very, very normal for us to say that the offense carried the defense. So, I mean, that you had times in the game where you thought that, you know, the offense was lights out and the defense was struggling. So just looking at the box score and the statistics, you know, Utah State outgained us in time, not time of possession, but first downs. They had more total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards. You would have thought that, you know, they played pretty well on offense. So the defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain. I mean, the offense put up 24 points and the defense only let up 14, that bend but don't break style. But I think the defense has to play better. Offensively, you know, they did some things that I thought was pretty dope. Cade McNamara looks like he's the quarterback that they've been waiting for a long time. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he ended up just getting, you know, they brought him out because of his injury situation to let the young kid spin it a little bit. But he had a great game with a 101 quarterback rating. That's impressive to me. You know, the tight ends always at Iowa are always good. And Luke Lachey's the next great one and the tutelage of tight ends that come out of there. But I was very impressed with Jay Higgins. Jay Higgins with 10 tackles all over the field. I was impressed with him and Cooper DeJean. A lot of people are going to try to stay away from him. But he still had a pretty good outing to be the first game of the year.
Yeah, film session with Phil is going to be fun for those guys.
Yeah.
Jordan, you're up.
Not much to add. Jovan hit it all on the nail. You know, defensively, obviously some things to work on and see and fix in film, but offensively, you know, they started pretty fast, started well in the first half, and the second half kind of dwindled a little bit, but just overall, like was already said, definitely exciting to see the offense have some energy, have some fire, and have those playmakers in all areas. You know, we got a running back, Johnson, he can tote it. We obviously saw his first touch of the football, even on kickoff return. Again, we know we're tight end so Lachey getting I think it was 7 catches, you know, leading the receiver, leading everyone in receptions. It's just really nice to be able to see the offense flow like that today.
Yeah, and I will say, let's get this out of the way first, because we're you know, I think there were more positives today than there were negatives. But if I'm coming out of this game, my main concern is the running game. You're looking at, you know, 88 yards on 36 carries. 50 of those yards, guys, came on the opening 2 drives. So after that, you're looking at 38 yards. I'll go to you first, Jovan. What's got to run the football with play action offense. You got to be able to run it.
Yeah, you got to get movement up front, and that starts with the offensive line. You know, they're really trying to figure out, you know, who's going to fit where and what pieces are what. This is the second year of these guys being together, so you know, you would have thought the gelling process would have kind of took place throughout the offseason, all of the spring ball stuff. But they got to figure out a way to get some movement up front. And if they don't, the run game's going to suffer, and that's going to make the pass game suffer. But they did come out the gates hot, so you know it can be done. It's just a matter of getting back to the drawing board and figuring out, you know, what's the best possible solution to continue to get the ground game going, because that's going to open up the pass.
Yeah, Jordan, they're rotating guards, and we've seen that before at Iowa. They you know, they do that, and sometimes it's seamless, sometimes it looks a little wonky. It seemed like almost every other series they were doing it today. Off of that, kind of, what did you see from what was going up front? Were the backs decisive enough?
I mean, I would say, just in regarding the guards, it's definitely something where you would like to have 2 that are just, you know, for a fact they're your ones, but at the same time, you know, in this position, they're rolling them because they know they got 4 that they believe can play, or I'm sorry, not 4, but, you know, a few that can actually play the position, where it's hard to kind of truly tell when you're just facing each other throughout fall camp. So, you know, they'll tell over just this game's film who made the best, you know, blocks, who made the best reads and certain things just on the offensive line standpoint. So you'll probably see a little less of the rotation for next game. But running backs, I mean, it's also something where I would say, yeah, they at the same time got to see the film and just, you know, some cuts were missed. But again, like you said, it's the consistency is everybody, not just the running back, not just the lines, but it's something that obviously you want to have happen the first game and then execute the next game. So, you know, we know very well that they will hit the film room real hard and go over what they need to tomorrow, and they'll definitely make the changes they need to.
You guys touched on this a little bit in the opening, but what did you see, and I'll start with Jordan on this one, from Cade McNamara that stood out to you, that let you know, okay, this guy, this is the dude?
I would say you could definitely tell a little later, just with, again, the reason why I even came out in the first place, that quad. But he in the beginning was just confident, smooth. But the big thing that to say that we're sorry, I don't know if I cut out. The big thing that I would say that we're missing just from last year is the fact that he was able to just put the balls on the money of just a basic out route, comeback for that first play, for that first touchdown, for it to be that deep ball and to just right away put it on the money. Again, those are things that we've been kind of missing. So again, to know that you have a veteran quarterback like that can put the ball where it needs to is definitely something that can make you a lot more comfortable as an offensive coordinator for Brian Ferentz.
If you guys want to talk about, in clutch moments, Cade McNamara today, 9 of 12 on 3rd and 4th down for 112 yards and a touchdown. Jovan, you're up. That's pretty clutch.
Yeah, that's clutch. And that speaks to his experience as a player. He's been around, so it's nothing that he probably hasn't seen. So, he's not going to be rattled under pressure or on 3rd down situations. If you're able to extend plays and move the chains on 3rd down, 4th down situations, that's a testament to experience. And I think given that he only was 55% passing today, he has some areas to improve as well. And that's just continuing to build his chemistry with the new guys that he's working with. Obviously, the tight end from Michigan, Eric All, they play together at Michigan, but, he's getting used to Luke Lachey and Seth Anderson and all of these Nico Reganey and all these other guys that he hasn't really spent that much time with besides in spring ball and fall camp. So, that experience factor plays a role with a quarterback of his caliber, but it's just building the chemistry that's going to keep continuing to help him grow and evolve in the system.
Yeah, he completed passes to actually Deacon may have had 1, but I will say that 9 different Iowa players caught passes today. That's a good sign that there's, you think about last year's opener when I think Arlen Bruce was the only scholarship receiver that was available, just to see all, the ability to spread the ball around today was great to see. Jovan, you mentioned the defense early. You lose 2 first-round picks and Jack Campbell and Lucas Van Ness. You lose Riley Moss. You lose Kayvon Merriweather. You lost Seth Benson. You lost a lot on defense. Mm-hmm. How much today you look at it and say, you don't want to make excuses, but you got to expect some growing pains. What did you see today that you liked, and what do you feel like we need to be a little bit better in that area?
Yeah, I would say from a secondary standpoint, I think you have some talented guys in the back end. You got Cooper DeJean return, you got Xavier returning, but you need to figure out a good fit of guys who have the same mentality and mindset and who can play best with each other. And that's going to help them defensively, and then the guys up front, your linebackers are pretty darn solid, with Higgins in the middle, but just figuring out the best rotation of guys up front on the defensive line is going to be big for them, because when you lose guys like Van Ness and Jack Campbell in the middle of the defense, and Seth Benson, who was a very intelligent player, who was a vital part that nobody really gave credit to. When you lose that middle of the defense, that middle part of the defense, you got to figure out a way to replace guys. And right now they only have one solidified guy that they plugged in with, and that's Jay Higgins. So we got to figure out, who's the next best defensive tackle that's going to get out there and get it done, and who's the next best, linebacker next to him that can go out there and get it done. And then in the secondary, just making sure you got the right guys out there.
And it should be noted that Jamari Harris did not play today. He was the projected starter opposite Cooper DeJean. I don't know if the reason has come out yet. I'm not getting into that. There was some off the field stuff that we've been going through here for the last several months in terms of gambling and things like that. I'm not saying that's the reason, but it could be. We're not sure how long he'll be back. But I thought Deshaun Lee held up pretty well on the other side because they were going at him, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's things that they'll adjust with new people. Again, when you're just going against each other in fall camp, you really don't get the chance to really see what guys are about. But to have an all ACC transfer from Virginia, the linebacker, and then again Higgins played real well. You got guys that are returning that will definitely be the leaders of the defense. So I think they're only going to take steps forward from here. Because again, it's just adjusting and then finding, just like Jovan said, finding that dude on the D line that can really step up. But secondary wise and then linebackers, I feel like again they're just going to be taking steps forward each week, especially with a guy like Phil Parker coaching them. But they definitely have some playmakers.
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of how can they generate some pass rush, right? I thought today there were times where the Utah State kid just had too much time and it's too hard. And Jovan knows this. It's hard to stay in coverage forever. You're on mute, bro. Unmute you.
No, I said you can't stay in coverage forever. Staying in coverage forever only gets you beat. So you got to have some guys that could get after it up front. If you got guys that could get after it up front, then turnovers become a premium like they were in the last few years at Iowa.
It seemed like there were a couple balls today, too, that were real, like this close to being picked that could have changed the complexion of that game a little bit. If they just would have come up with one or two of those, I think the outcome would have been a little bit more lopsided. Special teams look good again today. Stevens is legit as a kicker, man. Kid's got a great leg. Tory Taylor gets a punt partially blocked. It still goes 37 yards. Coverage teams were great. I think you guys feeling good about the special teams still? It looks like LeVar Woods has got stuff going on that, in that phase still.
Yeah. Coach Woods is a phenomenal coach. So again, I doubt we'll see another partial block, but we got some players that got some boots. So yeah, the special teams are in good hands.
Yeah, and I think Coop was itching to get one of those punts turned back too, Jovan. I
thought he was going to take out. He had that one towards the end of the game. I thought he had a chance to make something happen, but he ended up getting tripped up. But I like to see defensive guys back returning kicks. Guys like Cooper, who has the athletic ability that he has and the IQ that he has. You can do some special things when you got defensive guys as returners. Not to knock any offensive guy that returns, but I just think defensive guys have a different mindset and mentality when it comes to fielding the ball in traffic and trying to get something to make it happen. Sometimes offensive guys would rather fair catch, but I was a guy that was back there once in my life, and I think he's a great fit for what they're doing. And the other special teams guys, Caleb Johnson, kickoff return 50-something yards, and that's a big deal as a returner. You want to have that field position on offense, and having a guy like him creating that field position is amazing. Tory Taylor obviously is probably one of the best in the country and at doing what he does. So
yeah, Anthony Herron is another former Hawkeye, is campaigning to get Cooper DeJean on offense. And I'm like, dude, you got to give the guy a break sometimes. But what do you guys think about that, though? Jordan, just, maybe put a package in for him or something? I mean, with the ball in his hands, he's pretty electric.
Sorry, you're going to have to say who we're talking about, because the reason why I just kind of spoke to somebody, that was the head coach I just came here to scout.
Okay.
He's like, oh, you got a little peek, huh?
Yeah. See, you tried to go incognito with that hat, but he still spotted you.
Yeah, we played each other last game in this regular season, so plenty of time for things to change. It's all good. But sorry,
yeah,
you said, who
I was saying Cooper DeJean. Anthony Herron's been campaigning. I was on his satellite radio show, and he was telling me that Cooper they should put something in for him on offense. Is that
Oh,
you know,
again, you understand with Coach Ferentz of like why certain things want to keep guys healthy, but my man is just like a Jabril Peppers for Michigan. Like he can do it all, and I do have to admit, as hard as it is for being an offensive guy, that Jovan is right. Where guys like Cooper, especially defensively, you're more. You're a lot used to scanning the whole field and having to like think on the fly and make adjustments and, really do have to have a high IQ. Whereas playmakers like running backs and receivers, you are supposed to do that. But when you're kind of going, you're just staring on kind of what's in front of you. And so again, to have a defensive guy to be back there, I definitely think, they might have a little bit more of an edge with just making the bigger plays. But then again, just all of them get their hands right with Coach Parker, making sure that they can get an interception, bring it to the house, which again, in the country, we've been leading in interception for a while now. So yeah, like I said, hard to admit from an offensive guy, but it's been a good, rich history of having a defender back there at Iowa.
Jovan, I know you remember 2004 with the running back issues, and Bob was trying to get in at running back, and I know you probably were trying to get in on offense too.
Oh, I tried. Me and O'Keefe went back and forth for weeks. It was a thing where, we kind of made a pact that if I had any pick sixes, he'd put me in a package in practice or in the game on offense. And then when I finally made that come to fruition, I was like, what's up, coach? I'm ready, and I practiced a little bit of it, throwing a couple hit screens and things from here and there, but we never got to it in the game. But, just seeing Cooper DeJean and what he brings to the table, I think he has a unique skill set that if you utilize that, you can use it to your advantage. I mean, we just watched Colorado and the kid from Colorado play both ways. Travis Hunter, he played offense, defense, and didn't come off the field. He played over full game in just the first half. As a player, that's a lot of snaps, and it'll take a toll on you eventually. So, just trying to figure out, how, if you're going to use him, how are you going to use him, and what's the most effective way of using him, on offense. And if he's a guy that you feel can make something happen with the ball in his hands, to give him a shot. I mean, it don't hurt to put him out there for 2-3 plays on offense and see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Bad day for the prime haters, man. That was cool to see him get that win. That was nice. All right, guys, I want to let the listeners know that support for the podcast comes from Systems Unlimited, celebrating 50 years of providing services to people living with disabilities and mental health needs throughout East Central Iowa. A list of their services and upcoming events can be found at sui.org. That is sui.org. Thank you to Systems Unlimited. We're going to hear from a few more of our sponsors, and we will be back in about, a minute. And we are back here on the Rapid Reaction Podcast. Want to let folks know, Randy Engel does some awesome artwork. He's at underthekitchen.square.site, underthekitchen.square.site. Got a bunch of former Hawkeyes, Tim Dwight, Spencer Lee, Keegan Chris Murray, all of those guys. Great artwork. Go check him out, underthekitchen.square.site. All right, guys, guess what next week is? Trip to Ames.
Yeah.
Let's hear some. Start with Jovan. Give me some of your best memories from traveling to Jack Trice Stadium.
I can't tell you that I had any, to be honest. Like, when you prepare, we start the spring ball and all those different things that you have over the summer and all of the fall camp stuff, like you're preparing for this game, like Iowa State, especially when you have to go to Ames. Like that's like the worst place in Iowa, if you ask me. Being a Hawkeye, like we just hated that place. Like I didn't win in Jack Trice, but I definitely felt like we had some times where we went out there and it, for whatever reason, it was always like a black cloud. Like I just never really felt myself when I was in Ames for whatever reason. I think they have like some sort of hoax on the Hawks when you go out there.
Yeah, remember Mo got hurt. Was that 03 when Mo Brown went down?
Yeah.
I mean, bad luck.
It's just bad. It's just bad. It's just always bad. Like, I don't know. I never felt, like when we came in the Ames, like that, I felt we were always the better team, but I just never felt like we played up to our standard when we were there. When I was in Iowa, maybe it was different for Jordan, but my career, we just, for whatever reason, we didn't play to our standard when we went out there.
Cyclones won over Northern Iowa today, 30-9. Pretty salty on defense. They're probably pretty happy they got 30 points on the board, especially with all the losses they had on the offensive side of the football. How about you, Jordan? Your memories of going to Jack Trice?
I mean, again, as a New York person, I'm sure Joe Vaughn can attest, from coming over from the East Coast, I have no idea what the rivalry is like. I think it was my freshman year when we were walking out, a kid came up and hawked a loogie on my teammate in front of me. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is what it's like. And then I think it was our maybe third or fourth year. Yeah, I just can't remember the exact, but they had guys break into I think it was a fourth year. They had guys break into the locker room and steal stuff. But it was still good that we got the win. And then to get the win senior year as well. It was just great to be able to have that happen and then send them an L at the same time. And university had to pay all the guys who lost stuff back. I won't say who, but I think a few guys had an iPhone like 4 and they said they had the 6. So good for them.
Hey, you're going to let people in the locker room, you get what you get. So that's it. All right, fellas. I kept you long enough. We'll get back and do this again next week. I'll let the listeners know. I will be in Ames. It's a later game. The chances of us getting a podcast together next Saturday night's probably going to be tough. So we'll probably have to push that back to Sunday morning. I'll talk to these guys and I'll let you guys know when we're going to do the podcast. But we'll definitely do one after next week's win in Ames. So that you can count on. There will be a rapid reaction podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to Jordan and Jovan for coming on. Thank you.